Welcome to the Daily Dose of Derm podcast, your go-to podcast for all things dermatology. I'm Dr. Mohiba Tareen, a board-certified dermatologist and the founder of Tareen Dermatology. Join us as we dive into the fascinating world of skincare, beauty, dermatologic treatment, and how to enter the world of derm. Whether you're a skincare enthusiast or an aspiring medical professional, this podcast is your daily dose of knowledge and inspiration. Get ready to uncover the secrets to healthy skin and discover how to make a meaningful impact in the field.
Hello everyone, my name is Shihab Adam. Welcome back to the Daily Dose of Derm. Today we're delving back into the world of marketing and continuing our segment on how I became a professional. And today I'm honored to be sitting here with Natalie Bohr. She is the marketing director here at Tareen Dermatology. Thank you so much for being here, Natalie. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm really good.
absolutely.
Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Natalie, you are such a vibrant aura here at this clinic. Everyone
Thank you.
loves you to death, and I'm just so happy to just kind of delve into your career path and just your life in general. So could you just kind of go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us about your life, your beginnings. And
So I think I'll start with my schooling. I went to Iowa State. I studied political science, international business, and Mandarin Chinese.
Amazing.
Ni hao. When I was a young person, and I'd like to say I'm still young, but definitely not as young as then, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I studied political science because my parents would say I'd love arguing with them, but I really loved the concept of debate and writing and all those things. So that's the degree that I picked when I was there, and I'm really glad that I did because it was so writing and communication heavy, and that has really helped me long term in my career. But yeah, that's kind of where things started for me.
Yeah.
And then upon graduation, I ended up working in advertising. Political science degrees often end up in things like law school or something in that profession. But for me, I was looking for a little bit more vibrancy, if you will, a little bit more of a different take on utilizing my skill set for a different career.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there something kind of made you want to transition into the world of marketing? Was there something that kind of spoke to you like, hey, I want to get into advertising. I want to allocate my skill set into this field specifically? Or was it just something that you wanted to just kind of put your foot in, see if you like it?
Yeah, I think two things. The market for jobs is a little bit different than it is now. There was less available. And, when you're coming out of school, you kind of have this mindset of, well, I'm going to try something. If I had been on a path where I was doing, pre-law or something, then there's a kind of a direct, succinct path of what you do next. Yeah. And for me, it was a little bit different. So I interviewed at a lot of different companies, and I ended up getting a job at a well-known agency here called Periscope. And I kind of went in it with open arms thinking, and an open mind thinking, you know what, I'm just going to give this a shot and see what it's like. And for me, what I loved about that first career role is that I was involved in multiple different clients across various industries. And I sort of gravitated towards liking that and liking that variability, working with companies like Target and the Minnesota Twins and Wigwam Socks, like very different categories of business. Yeah. And you have to learn about what makes them tick and their customers tick and all those things really kind of, for my mind, I liked that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand your journey with Tareen Dermatology. You actually began as a medical assistant.
I did.
And then you kind of, transformed from there. So
I did.
What was it like, kind of living the best of both worlds,
so
marketing and medicine?
I'll give you a little backstory because there's some in between here. So I worked in marketing and advertising for about 10 years. And then, my husband played professional ice hockey. We moved to Germany, moved to Berlin, and then we traveled and moved to Nuremberg and Bad Tolz and lots of different places in Germany, which was an experience in itself. Yeah. But my career took me over there from a marketing perspective. I moved into global marketing, worked on a really big client, Honeywell. And it wasn't until we moved to Japan, which was our next stop, which I can tell you more about later.
You're going to have to elaborate. Yeah, this sounds incredible.
We were living in Japan, and I've always had this innate curiosity about the medical field. I, personally have always been into great self-care and sort of, what happens on the inside of your body can affect what happens on the outside. I had a friend who was working for Tareen Derm, and I had made a conscious decision and done lots of research about possibly pursuing PA med school as a non-traditional student, meaning, I didn't come right out of school and decided to try this idea. I had had a career first. I ended up moving home from Japan early and getting a job at Turing Derm as an MA to kind of see if I liked it, see if I wanted to pursue this career in medicine as either a PA or an MD. I absolutely am so thankful that I did, number one, because I learned so much. I mean, you're in the program, you're in this gap year program. I was older. I was one of the older gap year students at the time. I ended up applying to medical school and PA school. I didn't get in the first year. And I think I was in this phase of life where we had just gotten married. We had just moved home. My husband had retired from playing hockey. And, I was discouraged that I didn't get in. But at the same time, COVID was just coming around. I ended up getting pregnant with our first baby, who is amazing, by the way. And I was at this crossroads in my life where I felt, do I go after this again at my age? Here I am, pregnant with a baby. Here comes this COVID pandemic. And Dr. Turing and I had been obviously in consistent communication since my applications and all those things. And she said, Nat, I'd love your help working in marketing during this kind of unforeseen time. What do you think? And I looked at my husband. I said, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. I think that what maybe my life goal was, could I have been a good doctor? Maybe. But having that blend of marketing and medicine and having this role now, I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
It really feels like this is what was meant for me.
Yeah, it seemed like when, although one door closed for you, another one opened in an amazing
Absolutely.
way. So absolutely.
Yep.
You need to, because you've seen the world. You just need to elaborate for me a little bit more. What was it like living in Germany and Japan? What were some of the things that you missed, you loved?
Oh my gosh.
Tell me about it.
When I first moved over there, it was a little bit terrifying because here I am starting this new marketing role. I'm in a country I don't speak the language. I'm surrounded by people that I don't know. And granted, the hockey community over there is really small from a Minnesota standpoint. There's a lot of hockey players that were over there. I crossed paths with a couple Minnesota people, which was always nice. But there were so many unknowns. And I think what I learned while I was there is that I can do anything. From my job perspective, I thought, what am I going to do? And how am I going to figure out this project? And you kind of just learn as you go. And for some people, that's really an unsettling feeling, and it can be. But for me, I kind of learned to love that, kind of learned to get excited about the unknowns. On a fun note, the beer is really good in Germany.
Yeah.
Some things I miss are, it's a slower lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, having a family now, I really liked that aspect of, kind of on a Sunday, everything's closed.
Right.
So you really focus on your family or your partner, and those things we've tried to carry home with us. But yeah, it was unreal. I mean, I had a lot of experiences while I was there.
That sounds incredible. Just an amazing life. Just having that opportunity just to see the world and coexist in a complete different culture. I mean, that sounds like a very fulfilled kind of time, especially when early on in life.
And it didn't stop just in Germany. In the role I was in, I traveled all over the world. I was in Asia. I had a really kind of wild trip doing a leadership conference in Malaysia. I was in, Spain and Sweden, Norway. I mean, I really did see the world. I was in the Middle East. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So you went from, being on the medical side to now you're taking this role, as, a marketing director for the clinic that continued to grow exponentially, it seemed like. What were some of the highlights throughout your journey? Because obviously, I mean, this clinic continued to grow since then, and marketing absolutely played a huge part in that, and you did an absolute incredible job. Do you have any significant highlights along the way that you're really proud of?
I think when I look at my job here, I try to reflect. I'm a very reflective person. I try to reflect on some of the things I learned in my career that impacts what I do now today. One of those things is that when I lived overseas, I worked with people from all walks of life, all cultures. I mean, I worked with people that I never thought I would encounter, in a dream. And there were challenges along the way. When you're setting up a conference for 3,000 attendees in Madrid, Spain, and you have to figure out how to communicate with people whose, natural origin is, speaking Spanish.
Right.
and I know some Spanish, but I don't know it that well.
Yeah.
Working with production teams, working with teams that actually collaborated to come together for this conference that are from Dubai and, China. And I had some Mandarin in my skill set, but still, I mean, you're really focusing on how do you bring all these cultures together for one common conference about, in this case, it was the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
Very challenging. I was young. I think, I discussed with my other colleague, Maria, who, just about she is the best, just about this idea of that unsettling feeling of how am I going to do this? How do I wrap my brain around it? Do I have the skill set for it? Like lots of questions go through your mind, but you really just rally and you come up with a plan. You come up with that strategy. You work with your teams. You get to know other people. You get to know other cultures, and the magic happens.
Absolutely.
And so when I come back to thinking about how we do marketing here to patients, I have that flexibility of mind to understand we're marketing to a very, a variety of different people, a variety of different skin conditions that affect all skin of color, skin of, any background. I think that is something I carry with me. And I always try to remember that you have to think about all people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Were there obviously, that whole language barrier, that was something you really had to overcome, especially being overseas. Were there, now you're the marketing director here, back in the States. Were there any other, whether they were minor challenges, anything else that you really had to kind of get the hang of?
Yeah. I think that a lot of people viewed me as a young person when I was over there, and I had these big shoes to fill, if you will. And I think that was something that I had to really show my worth. And maybe that comes back to sort of this view on women or view on youth in bigger roles. I had to prove myself. I had to prove myself that I knew the material, that I knew the strategy, that I knew that I could stand up on stage in front of 3,000 people from all over the world and coach a CEO on how to deliver a presentation. Yeah. And I think that's something that I carry with me. So those challenges were difficult. I actually had somebody that told me, I think you're too young for this. I think that this is not in your wheelhouse. And so, my parents kind of told me growing up, you can do anything. You can be what you want to be, all the really good, like glass half full things. Great advice. And I remember sitting down that evening and going, you know what? I'm not going to listen to that. I know that I can do this. So overcoming those challenges have really brought me to a better place from a confidence standpoint as a woman working in marketing, or if, at that time working in global marketing. I think that same person I am still in contact with. Amazing. And I think that they regret saying that.
Yeah. And rightfully so. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I feel that you've probably had so many milestones and accomplishments that maybe you're just being so humble about it. I just love picking your brain about it.
So sweet.
I've had multiple people here at the clinic ask me to ask you about the oil rig. Can you provide me some context about the oil rig?
Yes. I was assigned a project in a very small city called Lysekil, Sweden. Okay. I had to hire a photography crew to do a video shoot on an oil rig off the coast of Lysekil, Sweden. And let's just put it this way. I was in, and I have pictures. I'll show you sometime.
We'll need to see those.
I was in. Have you ever been to like a refinery before?
No, I've never been.
It's like you're on lockdown. Like it's kind of wild, but you have to wear these like special suits. And I had like a helmet and all this stuff, but I had to coordinate getting a crew and the crew actually came from Spain and then another from Amsterdam to Sweden. So coordinating these languages and the barriers and all that stuff to get us to all meet in Sweden, to then make it out to an oil rig, which oil rigs kind of sit in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. To do a commercial shoot in the wind and the craziness of
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was wild. That's the only way I can explain it, is that it was just wild. And I remember texting with my mom and dad during the time we used WhatsApp. I don't know if people still use that, or I don't know if I'm too old and it's like an old thing, but I think it's still around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Telling them what I was doing, and I think it's like mind's blowing. Like, I'm sorry, you're doing what today?
On an oil rig.
And then to top it off, we get back, and everything was successful and great, but your hair's all wind blown, and it's helicoptering and all this stuff, and you get back to the refinery plant, and you got to go through all these checkpoints, and we had to go to this area called the control room.
Okay.
I mean, like, it sounds like it's out of a video game,
room.
like the control room, right? And they actually had a cybersecurity event on this day, meaning that there was a hacker trying to hack into their systems. Oh, wow. So we literally went on lockdown. And they had all these emergency systems in place. And so here I am. I'm like 26, girl from Edina, Minnesota. Like, what's happening? Right. And it ended up all being great. But I often think back on these experiences and I go, oh my gosh, like, that was kind of scary and a little bit like, I didn't even think twice. We just did it.
Right.
We had a mission, we had a job to do, and you just go for it.
What an opportunity. Yeah.
The oil rig was no joke.
That's a story. Yeah, I'm glad I asked about that.
I never thought, like, growing up and going to school and that, like, would I ever end up doing that? Like, never a thought in my mind.
It is. Yeah. Just, check it off the checklist. Oh my gosh. Well, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that with me. Transitioning just kind of more into the world of marketing. Do you have any pieces of advice for any aspiring marketers who are beginning their journey, their careers in this field?
I do. I think that, like any career, mine was a little, again, non-traditional, but I think for marketing, if you're looking to get into it, find a mentor. Find somebody who's a seasoned veteran in the field of marketing. Meet for coffee with them. Understand their path. And they may have very similar paths to me that are sort of, this cadence of different experiences, but find a good mentor. I think something that really helped me along the way too was the people that I worked for at Periscope. My sister was one of them. She worked with me there, which was super fun. I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot from my colleagues, my senior colleagues that had loads of experience way far beyond anything I knew. Ask questions. Ask how they like their jobs, what brought them success. Those learnings can really help you. And then I'd say, find opportunities that gain you experience, whether it's an unpaid internship or something that, you can get your foot in the door. That will bring you very far.
Absolutely. Any particular examples of an opportunity that can really set someone up well? Is there any sort of occupation, any sort of internship, like you say?
Yeah, I think in this day and age, a lot of companies are starting to latch onto the idea of having a marketing team in house, or working with agencies and that sort of thing. I would say, when I was that first summer after I graduated, I actually looked at a lot of internship opportunities. Tons of companies were offering them. They were just really tight in terms of how many people they'd take on. I think now there's more opportunity. Companies are really sort of latching on the idea that social media is impacting their business. Marketing is impacting their business so much. Competition is fierce. So there are opportunities. You just have to go out and look for them. Huge companies like Target or Cargill, General Mills, many of them have in-house marketing that are just so huge. They will have options, but even small companies, will have opportunities for people to come in and work. Get your foot in the door, try something new. Even if it isn't in an industry that you think you want to be in, get the experience. It will pay off. There are programs within the University of Minnesota that are focused on marketing, even so specific to things like, if you want to be a social media marketer or expert, they have programs like that. There are lots of courses that you can take online to expedite your skill set for, let's say you have a general marketing degree or journalism or communications. You can sort of level up and take these 6-month courses that give you just an edge over somebody else.
Wow, amazing. Just kind of going into just social media, because again, social media is huge.
Yes.
Again, in general, it's such a huge arsenal just for, getting information out. Do you love the overall aspect of social media ever evolving, did you find any hardships, and just overall, did you find it hard to kind of navigate the there's TikTok's huge, right?
Yes.
Obviously Instagram, Facebook, right? Were there things that you found to be pretty easy? Was it something that you really had to kind of hurdle?
Yeah. So for me, I'm 38. Don't judge.
You look amazing.
Well, thanks. I work here, so I should. I'm just kidding. So I didn't grow up with social media, really. When I was in college, Facebook was just coming out, and this will age me. But it was at a point in its creation where Facebook was only, and it was actually called the Facebook.
The Facebook?
The Facebook. Okay, I don't know why it changed, as if the was so important. Anyway, I'll leave that to Zuckerberg. Yeah. But it was only in a few schools, and so we were waiting for it to come to Iowa State because we heard this buzz. And I didn't have a cell phone growing up. I mean, that's just how archaic I am. Right. Sort of this evolution of how things are now. Many young people, they grow up with it. So for me, the challenge was sort of understanding this element of that difference. I didn't grow up with it. This is sort of innately, embedded in people as they've grown up now. How do I make sure I'm in tune with that as a director to understand social media is so impactful for businesses? One thing that we've done here is we've hired this amazing team where we have someone with more of that natural instinct to use social media that's an expert, and more of an expert than me. Sometimes what you have to do when you're at certain, lifetime milestones is look at your team and say, okay, I know enough about this. I don't know exactly I don't have the right skill set for this. So let's hire for that. Let's find the person that can teach me something. And that's what we've been successful with here.
Amazing. Working in dermatology, what inspires you the most? Whether it's in the work life, whether it's in your personal life.
Yes.
What are those things for you?
So having had such a great experience working with Dr. Tureen and in the Gap Year program, I really, truly feel from my heart that it was such a blessing of an experience for me, because guess what? Now, when I'm marketing, I understand what psoriasis is. I've seen skin cancers. I've seen how they're removed, how they're put back together, how patients go through this cycle of being a patient at our office. I think from a personal standpoint, we'll start there first, having had that experience. I get people who ask me all the time, friends, family. I know I had my aunt ask me about Kybella the other day because I had Kybella done. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a PA, but I'm able to recognize some of these conditions or have some better baseline understanding of this field. And for me, then I can say, you know what? I have an amazing fleet of PAs and doctors that are so highly skilled. Come set up an appointment. I'll help you get in. We'll get you to the right place. And then I see that success. So in my personal life, I'm obsessed with dermatology. I love it. Yeah. I think one simple piece of advice I have is if once you get to a stage like I'm at right now, really find something that you love. I love dermatology. I love marketing it. I love working with you guys. I love having that ability to market something that you love is amazing. From a work standpoint, I see the success stories. I see somebody that comes in with, and I'm not patient facing, but I feel like I'm patient facing when I see someone in a before and after that we use for marketing on social media or on our website that had prolific cystic acne, low confidence, not smiling. And then, I see that recheck and I see those photos that come back for a before and after, and you can feel the confidence. You can see the difference that Tureen Dermatology has made for patients here. Absolutely. That is fulfilling. That is a really big, I walk home. I don't walk home.
I was just saying, do you need a
ride? I live in Wayzata. I'm not walking there. I think that when I leave work, I go home feeling good. Yeah. I have a great team here. We have a wonderful company, but I love what I do.
Amazing.
It makes me feel good.
Good. As it should.
Yeah.
As you should. Do you have any, final thoughts, final pieces of advice for anyone passionate about marketing, considering this field?
Yeah. I think that it takes a little bit of grit to get to a place where you're comfortable in marketing, where you feel like you're making an impact. And I think that all experience is valuable experience. I think that when I always tell people who I, have coffee with that want to ask questions, about marketing to me, about getting started, you have to start somewhere. Again, like I mentioned before, maybe you're starting and you're working and it's a tire company. I don't know, something that's different. Get the experience. It will carry you forward. There's not something that you won't do at, one company that you can't carry forward that skill set somewhere else. Look at the ethos of the company that you want to work for long term. I think we have an amazing mission and vision here, and I think that matches me. It matches what I feel. It matches my goals. And I think having that, as you get further along in your career, looking for companies that have the ethos that you're looking for is a really big piece of advice I would give. Start somewhere strong.
There you go.
Don't give up. I think ask people for help, get a mentor, market yourself in a way that, gives you that leverage to get to that company that you want to work for. Something that's newer in this day and age is like a lot of people have online portfolios. Build your portfolio. Maybe you're a marketer that also has a graphic design skill set. I think there's so much flexibility in what it means to be a good marketer. Leverage who you are, stay true to yourself, and go for it.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your expertise. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your love.
Thank you.
I'm Shihab Adam. This is the Daily Dose of Derm.